Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Welcome to another edition of our weekly Peace Talk Show. This is the show that is brought to you discuss on issues surrounding our national peace and security. And today with me also, I have some great guests who actually are from the Gambia Police Force and the Gambia Armed Forces. That is, their two focal persons. Join me here to discuss on a very important topic, and they will briefly introduce themselves. And from there, we go on with the topic for the date. Major, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure being here at Fatu Network once again.
Thank you very much. He is Major Lamin K. Sanyang, the PR of the Gambia Armed Forces. And sir, you will also welcome yourself.
Thank you so much for having us here. I'm Superintendent Lamin Jai, the Public Relations Officer of the Gambia Police Force. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Njai and Superintendent Lamin Jai and Major Lamin K. Sanyang. You're welcome to the Peace Talk Show. Recently, we have seen that the state of our security becomes a national concern and outcry in this country. And security is a collective responsibility. And primarily and traditionally, the police and the armed forces are the two major sectors that are actually taxed or mandated to ensure that the country is safe, both internally and externally. Therefore, today we bring these people here to discuss on a very important topic, that is the state of our national security. Because as I told you, the security is collective. Therefore, they will join us here to actually clear the air, some of the misconceptions going around, and also discuss with the issues on some of the mechanisms and precautions that can be taken to ensure that our country is safe and tranquil. Major Njai, Major Sanyang, what is your impression on the topic and on the Peace Talk Show?
Thank you very much. I want to bring greetings from the Chief of Defense Staff, Gambia Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Yakuba A. Drame, and the entire membership of the Gambia Armed Forces to the Fatu Network and our audience. Like you asked, the topic is about peace and security and the need for its maintenance and upholding. This is a very important topic in that we are in a very critical phase of our governance structure and democracy. Since the dawn of the new dispensation in 2017, the Gambia has been enjoying some remarkable degree of freedom of expression and also democracy. And after having gone this far, it is important that we discuss about how to ensure that we continue maintaining this peace and security in this country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Superintendent Lamin Jai. Also, what is your impression on the topic and the Peace Talk Show in general?
Very well. Just to begin with, conveying greetings from the Office of the Inspector General of Police and to all viewers and listeners of Fatu Network as well. Only to say thank you so much for coming up with such a very laudable initiative. It is important that we as a people have conversations and discussions about peace, security, and related issues, and that will help us to consolidate the gains of the democracy and so be able to also progress as a nation. And so we definitely feel elated that we are here on such a platform, because these are some of the positive ways of bringing the nation together and the people as well, so that we should be able to effectively and efficiently manage our affairs, especially when it comes to peace and security.
Thank you very much. Major and Superintendent, be rest assured that this show is brought to discuss on issues surrounding our peace. And also, we actually owe ordinary Gambian people, that is, here we don't restrict ourselves to only English language. We are at liberty to speak any of the language that, our people can hear. I will not say local people, but our people can hear and understand, because basically this program is designed for them. So, mbadi ngolu mbe mobe konton nambe tentola ndole murana le jang kote nke na loku kera kacha kamin sutale jang Fatu Network. Wala nyinti ko banko la Cairo ni tanko kul akeda kul demi alon ay mobe sula be jamano min kono science teng modole kumbo commencer modol ko be kawari ne komi banko be nyameng amang safe wala amang tanka woto bi nga molle nat nala ja wala minime marling Gambia Armed Forces wala police wala soldier la nengoning aning police wala franda nengoning pour ka kacha ke na banko la tanko la be nyameng science teng from there we go to Major, what is, how at the Gambia Armed Forces, how is the state of security? How do you people see the state of security?
Well, the state of security, like I said, since the dawn of the new dispensation, There has been, at the beginning, it was a bit difficult having to settle down after 22 years of a dictatorship. And then we ushered in democracy. And, you know, the challenges will be there for people to adjust. However, as we speak, I think the security situation can be characterized as stable. However, there is still more room that we can improve on the security situation. Like for threats around the sub-region, some of those threats still exist in terms of you know, terrorism, you know, extremism, narcotics, drugs, you know, irregular migration. Some of these you know, issues still there. Those are all security challenges that we are contending with. However, internally, we have some other security challenges, but those are like for the internal security services to deal with, such as the Gambia Police Force. Okay. But in that area, the Gambia Armed Forces also has a role that is to give support to the internal security services, and we are doing that, you know, to the best of our abilities to curb some of these criminal activities in the country.
Very right, Major. I was coming to that end. Even we have Mr. Lamin, Superintendent Lamin Jai here. Lamin Jai, you are actually the focal person of the Gambia Police Force, and the primary duty of the Gambia Police Force is to ensure law and order, protect lives and properties. How are you doing this at the Gambia Police Force?
Very well. Like you have said, the Gambia Police Force is the institution mandated by law to protect lives and properties, maintain all laws, and also apprehend and prosecute offenders, and as well as prevent and detect crime. And so as a result of, by virtue of this very important function, the police has been operating on these functions to ensure that peace and tranquility reign within the country. And so in order to do this, it's important that we fight crime. And that's why at the center of police operation is the fight against crime. And this we are doing very well by ensuring that we come up with effective strategies to deal with crime-related matters. But most importantly, also to liaise with the public, also to collaborate and partner with the public, because the fight against crime is such a situation that only the police may not be able to do that. And so it has to be a partnership, a collaboration between the police and the public. And that is also the reason why in recent time our strategies have been expanded such that we collaborate with all sister services and then also collaborate with the public in order to be able to effectively deal with crime.
Thank you very much. But some people are saying that the police are not doing their work because it has become very unsafe for somebody to move at certain hours of the night, or even inside your house. You can be attacked by people, or you can be ransacked any moment. They said the police are not doing, even though we have seen the police coming up with strategies and mechanisms to control, but still it is like, you know, the intensity is increasing.
Well, it is important for us to note that crime is a phenomenon just as human nature, because it is people that commit crime. And so wherever people are, to a certain extent or degree, crimes will be perpetrated. And so we cannot say there is any country in the world which is effective, 100% controlling crime to the point that no crime is happening at all. Of course, pockets of incidents will happen here and there, and so we are very aware of that. But we are equally very concerned about every single issue or every single incident of crime. And that is why in recent time, when we understand that our people are concerned about crime, we've decided to step up our operations, and we've decided to come up with an effective strategy to go all out and deal with all criminal dens and hideouts. We must understand that there are times that we have arrested individuals and they've been prosecuted and also convicted. And so what happened at some point in time at the beginning of the COVID periods and so on, some of those people had been pardoned and here and there. And then they went, some of them are going back into the commission of crime. So we have to deal with them again. And so these are all the issues that
okay, we will come to that. Let me go to Major. Major, your primary duty is to defend the territorial integrity of this country. But secondary also, if there are upsurge in crimes or violence or other issues that actually need to the society, you have to step up to help. How is the Gambia Armed Forces trying to deal with the upsurge of domestic crimes?
If I would like to make reference to the Constitution, the Gambia Armed Forces mandate and functions are enshrined in the 1997 Constitution. And in fact, you call it secondary, but in the Constitution, it's a primary function. One of the functions is the defense and the protection of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Gambia. And the other function is to come to the aid of civil authority at their request in times of emergencies, and also to restore law and order. So it's in that section that the Constitution gives us a mandate to come to the aid of civil authority and civil power, which is the Ministry of Interior. And the unit of the Gambia Armed Forces that is playing that role effectively is the Gambia National Guards, that's based in Fajara. They have full or some police powers that they can use to come to the aid of civil authority.
Okay. Now, Major, do you have any strategies in place to ensure that these things are controlled?
That's what I was coming to. The gas battalion is empowered by the Constitution to come to the aid of civil authority. And, several instances, whenever there's a civil disobedience, the gas battalion is usually on standby to come to the aid of the police in case they need support. So they have been given some kind of training and capacity in the maintenance of law and order. In that, they have been given riot control training in dealing with civil disobedience. So when they come to be deployed, they don't come with rifles with bullets. Instead, they come and use other softer and non-lethal weapons, such as rubber bullets, tear gas, such as those that the police normally use to control civil disobediences. So it's in that area that the Gambia Armed Forces, through the Gambia National Guard, come to the aid of civil authority in controlling crime. So as we speak, when the police launched Operation Zero Crime, we had in the backdrop also the Gambia National Guard giving them support and backup.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. In fact, during the President's Nation's address just recently, he said he is putting the Gambia Armed Forces on standby in case when there is any issue or that the criminal issue, how do you call it again? The crime rate or the criminals do not tame themselves, the armed forces will come. So do you mean that is that section of the armed forces that will come? He
in fact said the Gambia National Guard. The National Guard is to be on standby to intervene to help civil authority. That is as enshrined in the Constitution. There is nothing illegal about that. In fact, when you look at the Constitution deeply, some subsidiary legislation gives them a power such that it's not like they wait for an order or an authority to intervene. That is a mandate that they have, just like the police. If you look at the French equivalent, that's what the role of the gendarmerie they play in maintaining law and order. So that role is always there, but when it gets to the crunch, like law and order is lost, it's maintenance and restoration. That's when you invoke those powers to deploy.
Let me come to Superintendent. Superintendent, the increase in crime, I'm sure the police is not only there to control it, but you must also investigate what are some of the factors leading to this crime. Do you actually map out what are some of the factors to these crimes?
Very well. When you look at crime, you realize that the factors that push or pull people into crime are several and many. And so one of these things is countries, it is said that there is a huge correlation between good education and crime. In a society where people are having good education, skills and knowledge and talents that they can use to survive and to decent means of survival, there is high likelihood that such people will experience less crime. And so therefore, that's one factor. But if a society has the quality of education is deteriorating or so, then that tends to get people pushed into commission of crime. And that's where we have issues about unemployment and many other related issues. And because unemployment too is multifaceted, because some people is lack of skills, some people is lack of jobs, and many other issues relating to that can push people. But also we have poor parenting as well. And I think in the Gambia, this is a situation we need to look at because parenting plays a significant role in getting people also into crime. If children are parented very well, there is high likelihood that they will have the discipline to understand that issues relating to crime are detrimental, and so therefore they cannot go into it. But if the parenting rules also lack, then there is high tendency that children can be easily exposed to situations that can push them into crime. But also more importantly is the abuse of drugs as well. We also understand that if children are into abusing of drugs, this is where they will crave for the drug. In craving for the drug, then they will like to commit crime so that they can get the supplies. And even if they don't have the supply too, they will still go into crime to be able to maintain that line. And so that too is another factor that is significantly affecting the situation, which is why in our strategy, recent strategy, we've decided to do a joint security patrol and approach towards fighting crime, so that even the drug issue will also be dealt with, because we do know that many of the boys that goes into crime and commission, especially theft, because the major issue we are having is breaking, stealing, and robbery or theft issues. So the drug thing also plays a significant role in that aspect too. So, like I said, the factors are many, but for the purpose of this discussion, we may not be very theoretical, but we can say
do you also find out what are the reasons for the murders and killings also, because it's becoming rampant?
Well, I tell you, if you look at our recent statistics, we have shown that the first quarter of 2020 compared to the first quarter of 2021. 2020, the first quarter, we've registered about 4 murder cases. In 2021, the first quarter, we registered 10 cases of murder. That's a significant rise from 4 to 10. And so, but if you go to case-by-case scenarios, you will understand that from on top of my head, I can remember that one of the cases that happened in Brikama was a boy that used a metal stick to hit the mother on the head, and eventually the mom passed away. The mom died out of that. Another boy also used a wooden stool to hit the father on the head, and the father passed away out of that. Another boy in Bakau used some cutlass or some stuff like that to hit the father on the head, and the father. And all these cases, they are under the influence of drugs as well. And then we also know a particular case that happens in Tanje some time ago, where a woman have given some money to the shopkeeper and then he failed to pay. I think you can remember that. And then another case in Lamin Daranka, which is a recent one, that too is like money was given to the guy to bring some strip of sand, and then eventually there is a... So if you look at these scenarios, and then also in Brikama, you have some 2 co-wives that had dispute among them, and this couldn't be solved among them, and eventually it degenerated into violence and fight, and that led to the death of the... So if you look at these cases, you will see that mainly these are domestic related matters that people cannot solve within themselves, and then it degenerates into violence. And also the parenting aspect that I mentioned before is important for us. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that it is the fault of the parents, that's why their children decided to assault them. No. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, for a societal situation like this, society needs to look at itself to understand what are we doing for the children before that we are not doing now, and having them turn against us ourselves. So these are, I mean, you can easily say, oh, there are a lot of murder cases, and then you stop at that. But let's go further and look at the murder cases. How do they come up? Why? And so you will realize that there is need for society to reinterrogate itself, and then we should be able to go back to the basics to
society to reinterrogate itself.
If I can add to that, I also had a recent interview, and the journalist also asked about the reasons why this increase in crime, and why is it that the military should not be intervening and all that. It's like that public outcry is there, that you should bring the military in.
Yes.
My response to him was, if we need to look at the causes and even the people around these crimes, the causes, as highlighted by Superintendent Jai, are very evident and they are factual. But if you look at also the age group of those people that are even involved, these are teenagers, 12, 13, up to like 18, 19. And most of them, I don't know the percentage about even their nationalities, but I think probably a higher percentage could be all Gambians. So this means now, these are our own, brothers, these are our own sons. And that societal issue, it means we have to go back to the drawing board. Because some of us were brought up from homes in the 80s, 90s. Some of these things, the society itself has a way of regulating it. So that you don't even think about even stealing. Because the family itself abhors it, that this is distasteful. So that integrity, the family culture, the community culture, we have to go back to the drawing board. This is an issue of that we can sit down at community level and discuss and deal with some of these things, because these are our own sons, these are our own brothers, so probably it's a lack of communication, a lack of, proper upbringing. I'm not saying, like he said, we are not upbringing them, but not everybody is doing as much as possible, because our societies have been very good, and we had our ways of, bringing up children. All of us were brought up in very good manners. Okay. So we need to go back to that drawing board and ask those questions. Because somebody who is 16 years old, he should be going to school. Why is he not going to school? Those are the questions we should ask ourselves. If he's going to school, why didn't he go? So that element is there. We need to take charge. So what I ended up saying to the guy was, you want to bring in the military. That means you are using force now. At the end, we may end up going back to what happened in the past. Human rights issues will come because people will start complaining, I was tortured, I was detained, more than 72 hours, and all these things. So it's like, if you want me to go into the Mandinka dialect, I'm coming for, security nying abedamento, akamunta ko coming for ni ajibe mune asabu nka dinngol ka dun nying tafaru ko.
Exactly.
What tafaru ko ni ajibe superintendent jaya fo janne coming su kono kuluro nying ama fo ka mansoto bari adasatele kandun tolbe ntenga bambanda kay ko ntola wato kabire ntolbe wulu be dindia wato kono ini kaf nyoma ka tara kelo la silokan alfa e jibeji ayelipa aya fo e ko yemenke amanke woti wala tara ku ke kam mi alon ka manke fati fan ase muta ayukulu wota nyanna multale na satol kono na banta balto nga diamu dinni wole kantu ñun men be ñin tafarol ke kan amanke mol men alon ko bantalan ko le wala mol le men alon ko melon ninge londi bi tele nyaato wala ntol fanga nata ngay jibe ntebe kelin suude la jël itabe kelin suude la jël because na dingol le mu do mal le mu ngotol le mu woto kacale ñan kela at community level, at family level, pour ngaje ko be ñokulu la ñame be ñomurin la ñaadi le na adol kono nga ñoo taman nga kol taman dim fango fe ñaadi le kanto suñaro mo be alon ka manke jika betete yo woto wonyan na wokuluro ñana commence la family ñim fango le kono pour ka fo dinni ngoy ko suñaro man betiya iñanne balule tarol la yentol be kulu wosilo le kan so ni ara be ke kan san andu dinni wol men alon ko be ñin tafaro kono la sanyo ni jibe tan le lulu tan ni worola wonyana tara karamol to ni ata manta takan karamol to nyanna jibila munana manta yo bare mi alon ka be takan karamol to o manata atata sunyaro kule atina manta so ndamma ngol amake kuti mi alon ko at botana bandela nyapintan kan.
Yes, so, yes. Major, voting is very important because when you look at democratic control armed forces, these are some of the issues, armed forces or military bunda keke, and then recently I've also seen the police doing it, going to schools, teaching them, telling students, crimes and importance of peace. I think that is laudable. And voting is very important. Going back to the drawing board, it means now security starts from the family level. Family level, parents play their responsibility, society play their responsibility, and then also when we come to the upper level, more formal sort of, that is the security, that is the police and the army and other security sectors will just also finish up the issue. That is what I'm actually understanding from your statement.
Yes, but there is a danger there because now, like if I can say in Manika parlance, it's like italaftale mbedo yedingo kulu, wala mansa yedingo kulu, instead of itefang ya kulu.
Okay.
And mansa la kurulo, mansa ni dokole babulu, kidole babulu. So ni to kate dokota wala kidota pour ke dingo kulu. Problème bi na la.
Exactly.
Ngam bori men nanu ngin sanyi moanni lulu ko manto minamur la wala kan. Wala nan ka fa ko ngamurun tol fangol na fangol kan ngadiamun na dinni wole ngadiamun do male nyimu kulete me alon ko nin kacha keta asikeno be nyomo sakeno nyinku jamabe je asetalano ba nin ko ba fayla security pour wali yake la dokoti ma fa ko ate mbe menke no lamba kelale bare abedasalale kantu nyinti nyaar lal be ibe kabona suwole kono jaati yolle be la so ni momo nata sabatite ya atra ya longa be mun kuleto atra ya longa be mun do ku ke kan ake balu nyaadil amanche ko iba kiskisi lale bari defa wala korosi roto isa lon ko nyinde abinyi sila men kan sila beto la jandi be sila fayetinya you know coming be nyinte momento.
Okay. Superintendent, I have recently seen your people going around to schools to sensitize the people. Also, that is another responsibility of the police, that is civic duty, that is to sensitize the masses, that is the public. So actually, I think you need to improve on that and also to have dialogue with societies, communities, you know, interfaiths, to make sure that even youths, because some of these youths are very good. You know, once they see the police, they think that there is a barrier between them and youth. The police, I think the police have to cross those barriers to see these youths, you know, invite them on discussions and dialogues so that that barrier can be broken. Let them understand what is the function of the police. The police is not here for the police is here for the state. That youth man, that gardener, that farmer, the police is mandated to serve them.
Very well. I think, in fact, the reason why I am passionate to be at this platform is among those very important reasons you are mentioning. That is to reach out to people, to dialogue with the people, so that people understand these problems, and then we can go back to the drawing board, to the basics, and solve these problems. Like he said, there were times when the community raised the children of the community. So it's like a collective responsibility. Then we all raise our children together. But it looks like we are becoming very individual in the way we do things, and that is seriously also affecting, because it's like the task is left with individuals. And so with the globalization and the way people have their schedules now, it's very difficult for one person to take charge. Now, importantly, you mentioned the issue of our outreach to schools and to communities. This is one of the very important functions of the police, because we talk about prevention and detection of crime. So in preventing crime, we have to take proactive measures, steps to be able to deal with people and then to solve these issues amicably. That's why we've been doing this. We've been rolling out programs like this, and we have started another one again. We've started in Banjul, schools in Banjul and KM, and the objective is to send it all the way to the interior, up to the URR, to interact with students at their school level, to educate them on crime awareness and road safety. Not only that, but also to get into communities as well, in order to consolidate the gains of the Operation Zero Crime. Because zero crime is comprising of patrols, and these patrols are going out and they are targeting criminal dens and criminal hideouts, and also patrolling the highways and the streets and nooks and crannies of the communities. But in order to get this thing working, the people have to participate. Because once the patrols are out and withdrawn, somehow they are back to barracks or so, then these criminals will then go back to what they've been doing before. And that's why the Operation Zero Crime Phase 2, we are saying we are occupying the space in order for them not to come back there again. And so to do that, the community also need to participate. And so to have them participate, we must be able to go out and dialogue and have conversations with them as to how they can protect themselves, how they can come up with be responsible for their own personal security, and also how to collaborate with us and partner with us.
Thank you very much. I can see the aspect of community policing coming, but exactly. I will have your community policing head here also. Coming to Major. Major, how is the Gambia Armed Forces transforming to cherish democracy?
That's a very important question, and it's also one of the cardinal pillars of the reform agenda of the Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces. Since 2017, we have taken a very aggressive posture in terms of rebranding and also reimaging the Gambia Armed Forces. That is like winning the hearts and minds of Gambians. And we have reached out to the civil population through our outreach programs. We have also tried to reach out to the media fraternity by ensuring that we are more media friendly by adopting an open door policy to information sharing. That is why since 2017, to start with the media, our chief met on several occasions the members of the Gambia Press Union and some media houses like GRTS, to name just a few. And also, we have also held some press conferences to highlight some of our activities, some of our achievements, and sometimes some of the challenges that we are facing, as an armed forces, and some of the changes also we are trying to implement within the armed forces. For outreach programs, we have been intensifying our community outreach programs in that in all battalions now from Banjul to Basse, we have constituted what is called battalion civil military coordination teams.
Okay.
These are composed of some elements in each of the battalions that reach out to communities anytime they have some need to fix one or two areas, like some infrastructure. Our military personnel come out to help them, be it at regional level with the governors and also communities. And also, if you look in-house also, talking about the transformation, some of our policy documents that have been outdated, we are trying to review them. We are in the process of reviewing the terms and conditions of service. This is like the contract document of any member of the Gambia Armed Forces. That is also under review. And the Gambia Armed Forces Act, also, I think the review is done. We just having to just finalize on that. And also, several other documents are also being reviewed. Of recent, also, we never had a Minister of Defense, like in person. It was reposed in the presidency. Now we have a Minister of Defense. That was since 2018. And also, there were also efforts to revive the Armed Forces Council. That's also another monitoring mechanism that is being instituted. And also at the legislative level, also the National Assembly, and there's a standing committee on defense and security. As we speak, in fact, I left my boss. He's there meeting with them this morning. We have had, over the years, a very, very fruitful and cordial relationship with the National Assembly Standing Committee on Defense and Security. They exercise some kind of oversight function over the Gambia Armed Forces. And, with the Ministry of Defense, to see that the Gambia Armed Forces operates in a manner that is in conformity within a democracy, to ensure that the Gambia Armed Forces is seen to be subject to civilian control and oversight.
That is remarkable, as I will say, slowly but slowly. Because
definitely,
people are saying the SSR is it going to happen or it will not happen?
Well, it's a matter of like, enumerating some of them. But, I think one very significant component also is the Presidential Guard. Because the junglers who have been behind most of these atrocities in the past, allegedly, they belong to the Presidential Guards. What happened in 2017 was that the whole of the Presidential Guard was disbanded, and then a new Presidential Guard has been constituted. So now what we have is about 300 personnel of the Gambia Armed Forces, together with some members of the Police Intervention Unit, and I understand some other members of the Security Service. So what we have now is different from what we had in the past. It's a composite kind of Presidential Guards. So that it will not be only the members of the armed forces. And also, if you look at His Excellency the President, the way and manner, he's dealing with the armed forces is different like in the past. He's given the Chief of Defense Staff free rein to run the armed forces the way he deems fit to run an armed forces. So, in a nutshell, there are a lot of things that one can highlight. I know what they are expecting from the SSR. We know is to downsize. Let's cut the sizes. Yes, that's one issue that they have been talked about. But
in fact, Major, I will come to that. I will come to that, later on. Because at the issue of downsizing or whatsoever,
right sizing.
I have my issues with that. But also, we will look at that, as concerned citizens.
Definitely.
Let me come to Mr. Njai. As I told you here, primarily the police is here to protect lives and properties. And then, do we ever have in the history of this country citizens requesting or demanding for security, the intervention of the police, until the president, that is the commander-in-chief, to come and give a statement on the national peace and security, on the state of national security?
Well, I think it is not about that. I think it's about the concerns of the people. The president is always sensitive to the concerns of the people. And so crime has become a concern for people, obviously. And so equally, it is a concern for the police force. And that is why the police force decided to come up with strategies to deal with crime. And so the political will has been seen, has been shown by the president by coming out to even reaffirm the fact that the government and the Gambia as a country is concerned about issues of crime. And that's why a solution is needed for it. And so I think this is how we have seen it. And so importantly, the security have been working relentlessly to ensure that the rates of crime is curtailed. Now, if you look at it even as we speak, the talk about crime have subsided. It is gradually going down. Beginning of some few months ago, the way it has been going on, we've seen that our operations have paid dividends because as we speak now, the noises is going down, the more. In fact, our figures, when we started Operation Zero Crime, we were arresting people in hundreds and hundreds. But as we speak now, when we go out on patrols, we are some areas we will patrol 24 hours. There will be no arrest even. So that shows that significant progress has been made, and so we know with time this rate of crime will drastically go down, even if not 100% control or 100% zero, but then it will go very close to zero. And that's the objective of the Operation Zero Crime.
That is commendable. Let me come to Major. Major, we have a lot of soldiers who are fired, who retired, resigned, and these people are back to our communities. Don't you think these people will pose any threat to the public if Gambia Armed Forces do not have any mechanism or does not have any mechanism?
I think what we need to understand is to serve in the Gambia Armed Forces is not like mandatory or like we are operating a conscript kind of armed forces. It's a voluntary kind of armed forces. So you come and sign in. When you meet all the criteria, there are what is called the terms and conditions of service, which I said is being reviewed, that you go into. That's like your contract. And the terms and conditions of service give you the number of years that you have to serve. Usually it is 12 years. But out of the 12 years, you have the option of serving 9 in colors, and the other 3 you can serve like you will be posted on reserve. Usually we don't normally exercise that. So most of the soldiers that serve the 12 years serve it up to the end. And once they are done, now the option is with them to either re-engage, for some further years, or to just voluntarily discharge. And all that we can do at that point in time is to cancel them usually, to ask them why they want to leave. And if we cannot still convince them to stay, we let them go. And, we can just thank them for their selfless service, in protecting this country. So once they are done with the armed forces, they are no longer members of the armed forces. They join the great general public or the population. So the institution that is responsible for securing me and you and everybody is now entrusted with their protection, whether being monitoring them or whatever, which we don't think is there. And so I know that what you are alluding to, like, would they not pose a threat? But most of the people that voluntarily discharged, they left out of their own volition. It's not like they are forced. The issue probably could be like those that have been dismissed. Probably they are not happy and they left. But like I said, there is a general body, like the police or the Ministry of Interior is responsible for me and you and everybody's security. So anyone that leaves the Gambia Armed Forces, you are deemed as like a civilian, and then whatever you are doing, there is a body that is looking at that, and not for the Gambia Armed Forces to worry about.
Yeah, because I have this fear, because it's not easy. People resign, and these people are people who that they are exposed to weapons and they understand it very well. They can assemble and pose a threat to the security because they are equipped like you, and they are equipped like the police. So this is a concern. I think it is high time. We look at these issues very well.
Well, the last time I think we had those kind of instances, and that's usually an exception, not the rule. Like when you look at the Kartong attack, you may say it's members of the armed forces who left and came back and attacked. Then the Farafenya attack also, that's like, some Gambians who left the Gambia, came back and attacked. Those are the only probably, instances you can look at and say it's like some elements of the armed forces left and came back. So that's why I highlighted that portion of if like they are dismissed or they left on some kind of unceremonial ways. Probably, that threat could be there. But if you look at throughout our history, it's not something that you say is a regular occurrence. The things that we deal with usually are these, criminal issues. But there are institutions that are responsible to ensuring public safety and security at all times.
Okay. Major, very soon we will open the lines for people. As I told you, security is collective responsibility. Yeah. For people to also call in, we may take 1 or 2 calls who will actually call and tell us, you listen, because you are communicating directly with the CDS and you are communicating with the Defense and Security Committee at the Parliament. Absolutely. Some of them do not have that opportunity and access. So this is the only place where they can call you here. Mr. Superintendent Njai will hear, and then you can go back and say, okay, we went because we represent the Gambia Police Force. Gambia Police Force is mandated by the Gambian people. So the Gambian people are saying this and this and this. Let me come to Superintendent. We have seen that, the country is divided into regions. Which region has the highest rate of crimes and why?
Well, so far, when it comes to the rates, it is the Carnifing area most of the time that will top the list simply because of the population of the Gambia is highly concentrated at that area. And so we've also seen other regions like West Coast registering some cases equally up to the Upper River region. But importantly, you understand the Gambian situation. You will understand that the population density and all the concentration of socio-economic activities are concentrated within the Carnifing region, and obviously that's a factor. But this is why also our strategies are also tailor-made to deal with situations like this when it comes to regionally. We do know because of the fact that Carnifing is a very important socio-economic hub, and that could be the fact that it is attractive to the commission of crime. So that's why if you look at the Operation Zero Crime, we've designed it such that it is coordinated from Banjul, KM, and West Coast region. Notwithstanding, it does not necessarily mean nothing is happening at URR or CRR, because if you look at the securities that the composition of the Operation Zero Crime, all the security partners that comprise of the Zero Crime are equally existing in North Bank, they are existing in URR and LRR and so on. And so they are all doing their best coordinating there and ensuring that they patrol their areas and deal with crime as well. So this is the very reason why our main coordination is between Banjul and KM and West Coast region, because we are very aware of that.
Okay, let me come to Major before we pick up some calls. Major, calls have started coming. What do you think are the greatest challenges of the Gambia Armed Forces?
Well, challenges are we are a developing country. That's something that we have to contend with, and we know that since 2017, the government of the Gambia has been doing its best to ensure that security is given the utmost priority. And with the Ministry of Defense and the presidency, the Gambia Armed Forces is being given the capacity that it needs to be able to effectively provide, defend and protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of this country. So some of the challenges are there. However, a lot is being done towards, meeting those challenges for the Gambia Armed Forces so that we can effectively function. So the challenges, of course, they are there. As a third world country, these are things that we have to contend with. But notwithstanding, that does not stop us from, performing our duties to the best of our abilities. Yes.
Okay. Let me receive this call. Hello. Hello. Yes. Welcome to the Peace Talk Show. Who is that? Okay. You will hide the name. Okay, you have advice for the general public, Okay, you are welcome, madam.
Yes, I'll say it in the local language.
Okay.
Gambians, they want to jump on the police station.
Okay.
Because as Gambians, everyone should be your own police.
Okay. You can increase your volume. You are saying something very important.
Yeah, you might not believe more. Gambians, you don't want to help police.
Okay.
Especially the known people like the public figures.
Okay.
The activists.
Okay.
Other people, you don't want to jump on the own police. You demolish state police.
Okay.
You don't own police.
Okay.
Now, so many evil stuff happening in the Gambia. But for the kisuma mbokala, wala kisuma rakala, kisuma makla.
Okay.
I have to hide.
Okay.
The criminal.
Okay.
Okay, it's not just the activist. Just one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No problem. Thank you very much. Calls are raining in. Let me see. Yes. Hello. Calls are coming both national and international. Yes. Mr. Njai, what do you think are the problems of the greatest challenge of the Gambia police force? Also.
Very well. If you look at law enforcement, it's a very resource.
So let me receive this call also. Yes, hello. Welcome to the Peace Talk Show.
Hello.
Yes, hello. Welcome to the Peace Talk Show.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm saying big hi to the two brothers there.
Welcome.
From the army and from the police.
Okay.
And I'm commending them the good job they're doing for the country.
Okay.
Okay, but one thing I want to ask the police PRO.
Okay.
Because we are in the registration process now
Okay.
to go for the election.
Okay.
And the registration process is a start of a very, very important thing, which is election
Okay.
in December.
Okay.
And now the police didn't make any statement. And I had a statement from them last 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
Says that like the party agents or they kind of warning them what to do, not to interrupt the process.
Okay.
But if you look at it, I was a bit disappointed with the press statement because no one is saying that Gambians should not take part in their Gambians should not take part in the registration process.
Okay.
We said the people who are living in Gambia who didn't have the right to have the voters card shouldn't take part.
Okay.
And any problem you see,
Okay.
there is a starting place of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those people, I think the police instead should warn those people to stay away from our process
Okay.
before they have problem with the citizens.
No, no.
But instead of warning those people, they are now warning their own people
Okay.
not to stop those people.
Okay.
And I think that is not right.
Okay.
Understand? Because that's me. To me, you're giving them privilege to do which is illegal.
Okay.
Because non-Gambian is taking part in other countries' electoral process.
Okay. Okay. And Mr. Okay. Thank you very much.
If the police want the election to be free and fair.
Okay.
And we don't pray for the post-election violence.
Okay.
But if they want to prevent all that,
Okay.
then they should ask those people who
Okay.
are not qualified,
Okay.
who are
No.
not Gambian.
Okay.
Let them give them the strong warning.
No problem. We heard you, Mr. Be assured that Superintendent Jai heard you well. Another call is coming. Let's give opportunity to others. They heard you well, and in fact, once they go back, they will relay this to their people. And this is a first-hand information. So Mr. Jai and Major Sanyang heard you well. So yes, Mr. It's almost time. Another call is coming.
Well, I think I should respond to him.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. What do you say to that?
Yes, importantly, I think it's important for people to understand the message that was sent out.
Okay.
We are receiving situations and problems that are emanating from the voter registration centers where individuals are having conflict with each other, and that is our responsibility to ensure that there is all the time peace and tranquility, and the fact that the registration process is going. We also have our officers attached to the registration centers to ensure that they maintain security there so that the process can go on. Now, what we have realized, that is the complaints and also the cases that we are getting is such that there are certain individuals that are challenging other people in terms of their citizenship. And so the laws of the Gambia are very clear about who is a citizen, who is not a citizen. And again, the laws are clear about what qualification do you need to have to be able to qualify for voter registration. This is also very clear. Again, it is very clear as to who is responsible for enforcing citizenship or otherwise. So if that is the case, it is going to be very problematic if every Tom, Dick, and Harry can just look at you and say, oh, you look very fair, so you are not a Gambian. Or you look very dark, you're not a Gambian. Or the way you talk, you're not a Gambian. What will be your reaction if I'm supposed to tell you that? Obviously, there will be conflict between you and I. And so you will realize that I'm not even in the first place mandated to challenge you when it comes to your citizenship. So these issues is what we are getting from the registration centers, and that's what we want to address, and that's what we are telling people. Party agents, they have an observation responsibility at the registration centers. If they observe things are not going normal, if they observe that there are people who are getting registered and they are not Gambian, they can take note of all these things and take it up with their party secretariat and then liaise with the relevant state institution that is responsible for ensuring ensuring that right people are the ones that get the voters card. That is definitely not our area of responsibility per se, but we are very concerned about about disputes and violence that might erupt from the registration centers.
Okay.
And so whoever, whether you are a militant or a party agent or an ordinary citizen, as long as you are not legally mandated to question people's citizenship, then you have to desist from that.
Yes, thank you very much. I think that is clear, and that person's call is answered. Somebody is also saying that Operation Zero Crime, you run too fast when you are on your activities, and as a result, criminals will just hide once you pass, But somebody also said something very important. He said, sometimes when your people are enforcing arrest, you flock. You understand? And we are encouraging youth to invest, and as a result, you just go and find youth somewhere else and you flog them or you.
Now let me say this.
I said that here.
Yes, I think Major said it in his deliberation, but let me say this too.
Okay.
Again, there are other people who are saying the police is not effective because they are not flocking people. Yeah. So you see, we are in a dilemma situation. When you go out with force, they say you are violating people's human rights and so on. When you don't go out with force, they said you are weak and you are not even effective. Now, let's say this. What is most concerning to us is to ensure that we operate in line with the rule of law. Yes. And so that's why we don't violate people now, but we ensure that whatever we do is in accordance with the law.
Yes. Let me receive this call. Hello. Yes, welcome to the Peace Talk Show.
My contribution, I want to speak local language.
You are welcome. Nanan Surwa Kango, any Kango Rakiemi Moye.
Okay, Allah program with the Bakela is very important,
Abaraka Bake.
Public, the more important the care.
Abaraka.
Yeah, so in the
Okay, no problem.
In the point of that, all of last issue in the statement of me issue about this again.
Okay.
Okay, so Gambian have to know that because Gambian don't take part in
Okay. Okay. Wala call kundale unfortunate. Mr. Njai, time is almost.
Tonya kamunta ko time wala after bana bar ngamira lafta me jitande la woleng voter registration issue nyinde pour ka sani andi doro. Nga statement no min di from the office of the inspector general wala nyindi ko police nga kalamta ro kala ko fitino ka wuli molda maltema nying registration central tole andu molda maltema fitino ka wuli je nyaadile wala momin nata anala kayto aka nata registration wala modo ka findina ka fa ngo ite ngejibe ita manke banko dingon ite bariba koyre nyami e manke banko dingon wala kam e ka surwa kan fo nyami e manke banko dingon e ka fula kan wala ka man ni nyinketa mol da malte ma fitino la wullaji andu ni nata jibe gambia luwal saniata bakele jumala banko dingon jumala manke banko dingon wala e nyanta sarta jumala timmandi la pour ye carte fay kayto sot ni o sartol timmandi wala me timmandi masa kunda la bunda wala bunda doku bunda mi marta fanan mol mi ma sarto timmandi wala mol mi nyanda ka mola banku di ya nyin ka ko nyin ka londi wo bundal fanam bi jele loi sembo di min la kawol fananki bari momu yalan ko loi man han sembe dital ita wultal do retard registration center foy mo militant olti bank wala foy mo party agent olti bank il faut ta registration center e man sembe soto pour ni momi nata anala kayto e ka fayen ko e manke banko dingol nem fitino wulte ni wo tema wala mun to la suloti wo fitino mi yalam be soto kan say ka bo registration center to because registration center wo center na police official soto jele mi yalan ko be security maintain kanje so nim fitino lafta ka wuli je wo kusi falla fonsa wuli nga wo arrêté an wala na lafta mol ya faham ko wo kuma ka mindi fay mu parti observer ti bank ila responsible mindi ni kuje mi ala mi nyafa isa ta ya safi wala ya bule sonno mo kono ni murunta ni la parti sa kacha bunda mi marata wala isata ya so ya fero nyini mimbe wo ko tobendel barka wuli doron ka mol jibe manke banko dingoti manko fo fitino wuli wol tema wo anyanta dannale fo parti agent la kake bank fo militano la fo mo koten dol mi ala ko ba police and registration central to mo luama sembo dila ka mola banko de ya kisi imanyana ye fa dundi woko.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that is very clear, and a lot of people want to talk about time after Bandale almost. Major, you may have a statement for the soldiers who are taking part in politics, because this is elections here. And it's very important because you people are supposed to be impartial. Military taking part in party politics will actually paralyze your work.
Absolutely.
So what statement do you have for them? And also your final statement, that is to address the nation on the responsibility of everybody to ensure peace and tranquility in our country?
I think what we have to clarify is that the right to vote is an inalienable right of every Gambian. As long as you meet the criteria and you are a Gambian, you are here, you can go and get your voter's card and go and wait when the elections are up, you go and vote. For members of the armed and security service or the members of the armed forces, like for GAF, like you asked, you have a right to a voter's card. But your party political affiliation should not be openly manifest, so that I will know or somebody else will know what party or organization you are affiliated to. Nkamem foten wolem ko pour ka carte kayto soto pour ka carte o fay o mu Gambia dingo bele nyantoleti andung loyer sole pour niara ya sarto nyin timmandi pour ka nyini ye carte keso soto yo wo niara mu sojaro te foy manke sojaro ti bang bankola loyer so o silolale bare tol sojarol meyatina tol lakol fatandinta wolem ko itebe party o mento wala party o men support mo ma fako kana party support bare be party o men support la wala be party o mento mo ma nyanna wolon o nyanna kedal ite damma ani ala tema kan nin carte fay lungo sita bare ya carte ko so soto loyer so wala le yeta yela carte o fay yeta continue la hajo ke Gambia Armed Forces kabrim chuk nga carte o fayle anno han sama ka fayle
Okay.
You know, ndefon amamme do mandin taranga nakarte keso nyin soto abem bulu bari quand fo pour ka banque ko teki wolem ko ntenga party o men support modo manyana wolon na wonya natulante sondo mole kono kantu nin ko mbayi tandila abena nyin do ko nyin nasilale kantu do la do ko ani wom kata ndol manyana fatam fansi kala patito nyanna na do ko le jibela an wolen ka banko nyin tanka anin ka kanda manyana jibela be nyin parti dol do wala nyin parti nyin dol to nin carte o fayo sita ibita ya kayto fay yeta ya muri la do ko woke wolem to la nyantote.
Maybe you may have, okay, we will come to that, Mr. Njai. Also, your statement to the police taking part in party politics.
I think it's similar statement.
Okay.
And it is the same laws or rules that guides.
Okay, then you can give a closing statement.
So it's the same thing. Police officers too, they have right to vote, but they have no right to manifest partisan politics. And so it's the same thing. Well, generally, I want to conclude with saying few things, and that is the ongoing operations to curtail crime. We have some messages we just want to let the public know, especially in terms of supporting. One is the information sharing. We want public to share information with the nearest police station as to anything that is unusual or anything that it looks like some criminal activity that might be ongoing within their communities or within their area. Secondly, also, we want people to embrace the concept of community policing. And that is why all the time we keep saying, if you go to any village or so, you find a village development committee. And under this village development committee, you have some agriculture committees, fundraising committees, and so on. We encourage them also to create a security committee. That makes it organized and that makes the partnership very easy between the public and also the police. So that sort of security committee will be very okay. In case anything happens within the community, if one person is to challenge a group of boys sitting at a junction smoking cannabis or so, it might be a difficult thing because at the end of the day, they could even attack you. But if the whole committee takes it up as a responsibility, knowing the fact that these are our own young boys and youths and so on, they can dialogue with them, even go into looking into their problems, if it is livelihood initiatives that they can create for them, just to move them from the junction, but to see them doing something. That's very important.
Okay.
You want to come in? But finally, I want to say this, and that is, the main or majority of the main constraint when it comes to crime in the Gambia has to do with theft. And so for people to support these stolen properties that are taken from other people's homes find their way in other people's houses also. And so we want people to declare stolen property. If somebody comes to you and say to you, I have a television I am selling at 3,000, and you know the market value of that television is 30,000 or more, then you have to know that that television might be stolen property there. Then declare it to the nearest police station, and so investigations will reveal where it was stolen. But also finally, again, Finally, again, we want people to desist from obstructing our officers.
Okay.
When our officers go out on patrol, they're working on intelligence. They like to enter into certain premises, especially relating to drugs. People come out and say, oh, you know, we know this person. He's not a he's not a bad person. He's all the time a good person. But drug pushers or traffickers or addicts or abusers are sometimes very nice people within the community. But the security always get intelligence before they operate under such circumstances. So we don't want people to obstruct them, because obstruction in itself is also another criminal offense and people can get prosecuted for it.
Thank you very much. The listeners heard that well. How do you call it again? Major?
Yeah.
Major, do you have any concluding remark?
It's just an appeal and also an advice to each and every Gambian. For us to know that the maintenance of peace and security in this country is a collective responsibility, not only a responsibility for the armed and security services. Like we alluded to earlier, these are crimes being committed by our own brothers and our sons and our uncles. So it's a matter of going back to the drawing board to engage ourselves as a community, as a society, and as a nation. And I think we can do it. We did it in the past, and if we engage ourselves again through this community policing that the police has launched, we will be able to stem the tide. But we are in an election year. It is important that we also try to maintain the much cherished peace and security that we have in this country. There are a few issues that can derail us, issues such as tribal sentiments. These are things that we have to be very, very mindful of. This Gambia belongs to each and every one of us. We were all born here, raised here. So we know each other. Tribal sentiments will not lead us anywhere except, cause conflict. And this is the only place we call home. And it is all of us, our responsibility to ensure that we maintain and cherish this peace that we have for the Gambia. Maintain and cherish the peace that we have for the Gambia. We are seeing countries that are prone to violence and conflicts, how they behave and how they are. The country belongs to all of us. We must ensure that the peace and the tranquility of this country is never compromised. We have them here. They are serving us. And as a result, we call them for a national duty to come and talk to the public. And they have come. You also have to play your part. That is, anything that you see that is abnormal, that is something that is not good, please reach out to them. I reach out to them as a private citizen. Let's reach out to them to ensure that the peace and the tranquility of this country, the order of this country is maintained sacrosanct. Because when there is peace, you will enjoy, I will enjoy, and everybody in this country will enjoy, and people will admire our country, come and invest, and we will develop as a country. We are saying the Gambia was a smiling nation or smiling coast of Africa. Some started telling me, Justice, Gambia is a crying coast or crying nation. Whatever is there, security is collective responsibility. What we are saying, crimes and violence in our societies, we have to come forward to make sure we interact with the police and the army and all the security agents to tell them where actually these problems lie, so that our security sector can be well enforced or entrenched, so that we live in a society that's amicable, peaceful, because everybody needs peace. We therefore thank you very much, and Major Lamin K. Sanyang from the Gambia Armed Forces, we thank you very much. We are grateful, and Superintendent Lamin Jai, the focal person of the Gambia Police Force, we thank you very much for coming here to take part in this crucial discussion, that is the state of our security, because it is a national interest. So therefore, Justice is saying thank you to all the viewers and Fatu Network, and see you next week again. Thank you. God bless you.